This is going to be an oil change of a 2012 Dodge Charger. I'm going to kind of run through some of the basics and then kind of some of the extra things that I might have added on there to make it a little bit easier. But first I'll kind of go through a few things here. I'll go to the car and take a look at the mileage, make sure I always jot that down. Any receipts that I have, I'll also put that down as well. Keep that with everything else inside the car. So, go through a couple of the basics here. One, I always jot down my mileage, of course. I want to make sure I'm doing it right. Since I do it personally, I don't use a sticker. I use an app called Gas Cubby. Definitely helps me out. You can put any kind of service or when you fill your gas tank. I always put that on there. It gets me a good idea of actually what my gas mileage is, and then it matches pretty well with this. Right now it shows 17.2. I just filled it up, so I have a pretty good commute, about 40-45 minutes a day. So on average about 26 miles per gallon. It works out pretty well. But I always do this, check my mileage, jot it down. Whatever receipts I might have gotten from purchasing oil or filter, I always grab that and put it inside of the glove box. Just for reference for warranty purposes. Along with prep for this, me, again, personally, I choose higher grade oil. That's just my preferences. You don't necessarily have to do this, but for me, I do choose Royal Purple 5W30 full synthetic. I change my oil less often than I have in the past because of this primarily. Full synthetic, you can go a little bit longer. So I got 6 quarts. I don't have a Hemi, so that's what mine requires, 6 quarts. So any 3.6 cylinder, 3.6 liter, you're gonna see that 6 quarts. Funnel, some rags we use to wash our hands, and obviously a container to contain that oil. I'll go to the vehicle, get it prepped. I'll walk through, apologize for my nasty garage, but that's alright. We don't have one, right? First thing, I'll pop this here. Take a look and I'll show you. So where we're gonna work first. This is gonna be where that filter's at. So a lot of vehicles will have the filter on the bottom. My wife's Suburban does have it on the bottom. Many vehicles do. Good thing about these Chargers, they have them right on the top. So it makes it a little bit easier for you to get to. We'll have to get in there with a wrench. I'll open this guy up and we'll get that filter changed out. I'll try to get it set up to where y'all can see it pretty easily. But one other thing I will show before I start doing all this work here, I can change my oil in a good 15-20 minutes max, depending on the situation. Primarily due to this here. I have something called a, here we go, Mott2 oil drain valve. There it is. So, this is our oil pan right here. That guy right there is normally where your bolt will go. I have replaced it with this oil drain valve. Let's see if I can get a good angle of this. Maybe this direction here. Maybe not. I'll put a link for it in my my video. This guy literally has a little lever. You push forward and pull to the right, and it will drain your oil for you. And what I mean by that is, literally, it will drain from this valve, and you don't even have to take off the bolt. So this is why it's so much faster for me to change my oil. Pretty safe. It's pretty well hidden behind everything. So I mean, you see kind of the leverage of the vehicle at this point. Not visible at all from here, but once we get in there, you can see it. You really should always take off your oil cap ahead of time, just to kind of burp anything out that might be in there. It helps to keep that flow going. When you drain the oil. Again, it says 5W30 there, so it kind of confirms your situation where you know what kind of oil you're using before you put it in. But we're gonna go ahead and take off that filter now. So I didn't show that filter earlier. We have a Mopar oil filter specifically for one of these Chargers. I've seen these locally that were off-brand. By themselves were a good chunk, but I ended up buying 3 of them. I believe it cost me about 30 bucks for all 3. I believe from what I saw about $15 a piece when you get them somewhere else. So kind of a good deal there. I got them off of eBay. So this, I am using a socket wrench for this guy. 15/16. That's what it looks like. It's kind of a funky little socket wrench here, but gets the job done. Ideally, I know this does not match up, so don't kill me on this, but it's tight enough for me, and I know this guy is not too tight, so I get it set up the way I need to. Right here, that guy set up there. Did have to use an extension, but it's pretty loose. I mean, also I did go ahead and loosen it just a little bit before I started this, but that gives you an idea of how easy this part is. You never really want to over tighten these things, so you end up risking messing up the threads and whatnot. So I'm gonna go and take this guy off here. So this is what your oil filter is gonna look like. When you pull it out, you gotta be careful. I don't want to get a bunch of oil everywhere, but so there's this little bit on there for a second. Drain for a bit here. Just kind of get an idea of what that is. So it's got a big spring in there that kind of holds it into place. So this piece stays, and what we end up doing is we end up taking this guy off. I'll show you what I ended up doing. Inside of here there's a little bit of a clip down in there, so whenever you put this piece into there, it kind of snaps into place, keeps it all tight so it's not loose inside of that filter section here. This thing definitely needed a change. Not too bad. For the most part, been pretty on top of getting this thing changed out when it should be. So go on to the next step here. I'm not going to put the filter in yet. I usually wait to the last part for that. After I've gone ahead and drained the oil, I want to keep that valve open as well. So I'll get to go in there, and then we'll get that oil drained. When you buy these Mopar filters, they do end up coming with a seal. So I'll kind of show you where that goes. It actually goes on top of the piece that holds that valve into place. So kind of get this here. Try to do this one-handed here. So this is the old one. I'd typically hold on to at least one of them just in case, but this is the new one. So put it exactly in the same spot that it came off of. I try to put a little bit of oil there. In this situation, it does already have a little bit there, so for me, it's not going to be that big of a deal if it's old oil. But let's get this part, put it back on. Perfect. So you see it stays right about here. Just make sure it stays pretty evenly across that. You know, if you want to go in there and clean up some of those threads, you can. And for the most part, they're pretty clean. But stay right there. I wouldn't go the next step. That's just too tight. I think you could probably squeeze it in there, but that's not something I'd recommend. And for this, we'll go ahead and prep this a little bit and put the new filter down inside of there. Some people will use a little bit of oil kind of around this area. For me, in situations, since it's one of those filters that doesn't actually go on the very bottom, I'm definitely going to oil this part up here, where that gasket is, or seal, whatever you want to call it. But that's the only part I'm really going to oil up a little bit. But it's pretty simple. Get this guy here with the little clip part, and if you can get it down straight into there, it should snap right into place, just like so. And then you're going to drop this back into here whenever you're ready, and I'm not ready yet, so I'll kind of put it up here for a time. So I'm going to do my best to give you a general idea how this Fumatsu oil drain valve works. This is the oil pan, obviously, that's draining into. This is going to be that valve that I was talking about. You can see that. Whenever I take this, let me get a different angle. Whenever I take this bad boy here, push it forward, and then I'm going to pull it down, it's going to drain. And I'm going to give you an idea what that looks like here. If you can see it. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm going to keep it for you anyway. Gotta get an idea of where it comes out from. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a pretty basic concept. Really cool idea. And I've used these things for several years now. I've had no problems with any of them. They drain very well. And I just let it sit like this for a bit, like I normally would.
take time to clean up anything that I might have made a mess on, and then get the next step prep.
Another reason why I'm efficient at getting this done pretty quick is because I try to multitask a little bit. So, you know, while the oil is draining, I'll go ahead and decide to fill up anything that needs to be filled up. For example, probably need a little bit more windshield washer fluid. Everything else looks pretty good for the most part. I'll clean up a little bit more here, but that's really about it. Make sure everything is good. I personally use Rain-X all season 2-in-1. You know, here in Texas, there's really not much cold weather except for right now that we get. So this won't freeze up or anything like that. But it does a pretty good job of getting all those bugs off of our windshield. Just cut the rest of that bottle there. And is that it? Take a look around for any missing tools or anything like that. There's really not much we used in this. Again, one thing I ended up using was a socket wrench to get the filter off. Other than that, Fumatsu is something you can do by hand, so takes a lot of time away from the job when you have to sit there and mess with a filter. I mean, not the filter, but the oil plug and all that. Trying to be careful not to lose it. It just kind of saves the time, and you know, with these filters on top, it makes it so much easier to do. That was also a good time to check your, I believe this is your cabin filter. What this is going to be placed right here. So pop that guy off of there, and this is going to look a little funky, but basically you're going to take this part, you're going to pop it. There are two pieces that's held onto. Pop it open, and from here just pull this guy out. Inspect it a little bit and see what it looks like. I don't look too bad. I'm definitely going to look at getting a new one soon. But for now, just to show how you do that, that's definitely how you do that. Nothing major, just a lot of soot in there, but overall, nothing major. So we'll get that put back in there. And pretty easy to do. I don't think these are too expensive to get replaced either. But something to kind of keep everything flowing if you're changing your own oil. Snap those back into place. This guy set it the way it needs to be here. 3 spots. Oh, maybe. Snaps in there. Thing is peachy keen now. Good. Alright, I'm gonna check on that oil now. Let's see what we're at on that. Okay. At this point, it's still draining. Got a couple more minutes to do that, and we'll come and put some oil in here in just a bit. Well, while we're waiting for that oil to drain, have a little bit of car talk. I bought this guy, I think a little over a year ago now. I've had a lot of good things been said about this vehicle with passengers that have been in it, as well as myself, of course. I feel this is a overall great vehicle if you want. One, if you have a family and you need the room in the back. I'm not embarrassed by this at all, but I do have 2 pretty large car seats in the back with another one on the way. I don't know how it's going to fit there, but we'll see. But either direction, a very good vehicle, very fast vehicle for what it is. With that, a 3.6 liter engine, it's definitely a good size engine. 296 horsepower, I believe. It's either 96 or 92. So a good amount of stock horsepower. So, you know, if you're by yourself, you can definitely get some good ups on that. I mean, I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun to drive. The one thing though that I made sure of when I was shopping around to get, I couldn't afford SXT or SRT8 or anything like that, but I wanted to make sure that I had good fuel efficiency for when I do commute. So when I was searching around, I made this an option, or that I needed actually, necessity, and it was something that I talked to these guys about. A lot of the dealerships didn't really know, aside from the main dealerships. A lot of these dealerships didn't really know about this 8-speed, which is interesting. I have an 8-speed automatic transmission, so with this guy in 2012 and up, from what I understand, 2011 they didn't make these for, I don't think any of the other ones. Definitely not SRT8. SRT8 still, I believe, up until this year when they got the Hellcat engine, didn't start installing these guys. But I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that. 8-speed automatic transmission. So for me, I love this thing. I knew that if I saw this, it had that 8-speed, and it doesn't really matter what that dealership might have posted for the vehicle. This is what's going to guarantee that you're going to have that 8-speed. From what I understand, you cannot have this without having the 8-speed. So to kind of explain what this is, I personally call this an electronic shifter. Some people might call it something different. I don't have paddle shifters, but I'll kind of explain how this works. Instead of having to physically move it into gear, however you would do in certain vehicles, this one you literally press the button, you pull it back wherever you're wanting to go. Right now I don't have the car on, so it's not going to do it, obviously. Pull it wherever you want to go, and it goes back to standard. It's not going anywhere else. It goes back to the central point. So for this, that was a key feature for me, because I knew with that 8-speed automatic transmission, that VVT, variable valve timing, that I was going to get, at best, 31 miles per gallon highway. So that's what I was saying earlier with my fuel efficiency. I'm getting a good average 26 miles per gallon, but I'm also driving like I normally drive, which is can sometimes be a little erratic. I'll enjoy this vehicle. It's a lot of fun. So with that, keep that in mind. If you have this, mine is marked as an SE. I believe 2012s. There aren't a whole lot of SEs that have this. The majority of them are the SXT. And I've looked it up and down, looked at the VIN. Mine is still an SE. The only thing I could think of that would be different would be the fact that mine was manufactured in Canada. But I know for a fact it has an 8-speed. I've counted it myself. So let me know if you have questions about that or comments. It's definitely something I'm open to talking about. I love talking about cars.
Alright, so you can see this oil has kind of come down to a drip now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put that valve back into place. See if I can get to the angle where you can see it. But basically we're just going to take this part, push it up, and it's going to go back into its place pretty naturally. It's got a spring in there so you can see how it moves. It's a pretty easy concept there, but... And then I'm going to go ahead and clean that up just a little bit here. This part out of the way. I just don't like anything getting kind of gunked up in there, so I'll try to keep it as clean as possible. The idea for this is it basically has, I don't know if you can see it, it's actually got like a ball bearing in there, and when you push this up and move it down, that ball bearing has a hole in it. So it's a ball inside of this actual valve. So, which is interesting because it keeps it even tighter whenever it's closed. So I like the idea of it. Again, I've been using it for several years now. Definitely recommend. No issues with anything leaking or anything like that. One of the best ideas I've seen with oil changes.
This is where I go ahead and put the filter back in. Again, we've kind of already gone through the prep on how to get that set up. Pretty easy to do. Again, these are Mopar specific, and I bought 3 of them for about 30 bucks. So definitely a pretty good deal on that. And I've only had to use, this will be the second one I've had to use. So third one will be another several thousand miles or so before I do that next change. So pretty basic. I'm gonna put this back down in here. Should line up pretty easy, and then it'll just tighten it, hand tight for the time being, to get it as tight as you can by hand. Considering this is something that's easily accessible from the top, I do recommend tightening it a little bit with a socket wrench, because you don't want oil to spill in your engine bay area. So get that switched. We'll tighten it just a bit here. It has a stopping point, which is right there. Once you get to that, but as far as you really need to go, you won't really feel anything beyond that. It's one pass tighten there, and it's good. So it's on there really well. Try to clean up anything that might have spilled over here. This stuff like here. Get some of that oil off of there. So I should use a little bit of a thicker towel, but other than that, it's not too bad. And now I'll come to the oil part, putting that oil back into the vehicle. I'll do my best to do this one-handed. If I notice that it's going to start going astray, then I'll hop off of here. But again, I use Royal Purple 5W30. Pretty easy to get this lined up to where it needs to be, but we'll just kind of get at this angle here. And I'll hold this. Where bring it to me and have at it. You kind of see why they call it royal purple. It's a very dark, purpley looking engine oil. Should get it all in there. You get the concept of that. So I'll do the rest of it without recording, but get the concept. I'm gonna go and pour the rest of the 5 quarts in there. It says 6 quart, technically it's 5.85 quarts, so if you want to be specific, go for it. I just go and put the 6 in there because it can fit it. So I went ahead and put the last of the 5 quarts in there, as much as I can, going down in there. But I'll go and take this out. We'll clean that up a little bit. Just a second here. We'll put this cap back on. Everything's sealed up where it needs to be. If you see, it only goes one way, which is kind of nice. It prevents you from putting it the wrong direction, but either direction, it's good to go. Tight. Doesn't have a point beyond that, which is good. Again, they're confirming that 3.6 liter VVT. And you kind of explain VVT for the ones that don't know about it. VVT stands for variable valve timing, and what that is kind of in a nutshell. I'll use this as an example. If you ever see the eco button show up on your vehicle whenever you're driving, that means that VVT is kicking in. So it's been explained to me a couple different directions, but this is the easiest way for me to explain it. When you hit that point where your vehicle no longer needs that initial drive, I guess, let's say you stop it on the pedal, of course it's going to be going forward, you're going to hear everything kind of flowing correctly. That VVT, when you're kind of in a cruising mode, but you still have the gas on the pedal, but you're not stepping on it hard enough for it to really do much, that VVT is going to kick in. So it uses half of the cylinders, from what I understand, which is where you get that fuel efficiency saving there. So that's where you're able to have a 296 horsepower vehicle that gets 31 miles per gallon if you have an 8-speed, or some of the other ones like SRT8, for example. You know, for those guys to have, I think, 19 miles per gallon, it's still pretty good having one of those big old V8s in there. So that's explaining that part. Let's clean up a little bit. What I'm gonna do essentially is I'm gonna set this up like so. I'm gonna attempt to do this. If it doesn't work, so be it. I like to utilize every bit that I have, every tool that I have. So in this situation, I like to pour the old oil back into the original container. Pretty easy to do. A lot of people do this, but for me, it's one of the easier ways to actually clean up properly and not have so much of a mess. I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do this with one hand, but you kind of get the idea. Basically, I'm going to pour that old oil back into this container, seal it up by closing the lid, and then I'll take it to one of my local shop areas that takes that oil for free. So as you can see, I poured old oil back into the container here. Looks like I might have burned up a little bit of oil, but overall I got most of it in here. Seal that back up. Clean it up a little bit. For me, what I end up doing, I'll show you exactly how I have it all set up here. Oh, we'll get to the other side here. Oh, a box. Just get a box. A couple of these have, like that one's got a little bit of oil in there, but put this in here. I haven't taken my old one, actually. I found out I haven't taken that one to the shop yet, but both of these have some oil in it. This one has some oil in it as well. I will take these to a place called Green Guys. It's one of the local areas. You dispense your oil personally, and you don't have any issues with it. So I'll take that, and you see underneath I have a bunch of rags or some towels in there, just so that it doesn't get all dirty, doesn't leak when I put it in the back of my vehicle. But on touch base, everything's pretty well taken care of. gonna clean up a little bit more here. Oil is done. Inside looks amazing. I'm gonna go ahead and start it up, make sure everything is sounding good. I've already checked the bottom. Bottom looks fine. We'll start this bad boy up. You might recognize the tone a little bit. Tone is sounds a little bit different than the standard SE. For me, since I have all those babies and whatnot, I wanted to make sure that of course, it's one of those vehicles where you want to have a little bit of power, but you want to be able to hear the power too. So I debated so many different directions, whether I was going to do an exhaust or what I was going to do. So I decided, did a lot of research to cut my my resonators off. Now, I didn't do it myself. I actually have a guy that hooked me up in Lockhart, and that's Lockhart, Texas. I actually live here in San Marcos, and did a real good job. Gave me specific things to do, and he knew exactly what I was talking about. The resonators on these vehicles, from what I grasp and what I've taken out of it, they basically tone down the noise of your engine. I don't think there's any purpose to it other than that, primarily because there's no sensors hooked up to it. If there was a purpose for any kind of O2 sensor or any kind of exhaust leak or anything like that, something that's going to notify you, I would think that they would have something like that hooked up to it. So again, if I'm wrong, let me know. I'd love to know. I'd love to have that extra knowledge. But so I chopped those resonators off, and you kind of get an idea what it sounds like. I mean, I'm not going to rev it too much since I just changed it, but you definitely have a different tone than what you normally would have from a standard Charger. And I overall like it. It's definitely something I recommend doing if you have kids and you want to be able to carry on a conversation with your wife while you're in the vehicle. I definitely would recommend that. It gives you that extra bit of noise that you want to truly be able to hear what the engine is supposed to sound like. That's just what it, to me, is what it's supposed to sound like. So again, I'll give you a little bit of a rev here, and I'll take it outside and show you what it sounds like on the back end here. Plasti dipped my rims with some Plasti Dip, and I went ahead and Plasti Dipped this as well. The chrome look was not really what I was wanting to go for, and since it's not touching here, you can actually see that that's a darker color. If you look at most of the vehicles, it's going to be a stock chrome color, so and it kind of hides that pipe a little bit. I like the way it sounds. Pretty nice. Here are those rims as well. So you can kind of see I have the tungsten gray. It's called anthracite gray here. A little bit wet there, but I'll show you a different view from this. But overall, pretty well matched. And again, this is Plasti Dip. So the fact that it's Plasti Dip and looks very similar to powder coat, you definitely have to save yourself some money by doing that. But I have another video for that. So I'm going to show you, I've already done this, so you're not going to see the message pop up, but I'm going to show you how to clear the oil change message from your dash here, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, your panel section. So from what I've grasped, and there's actually a Dodge app you can download for iPhones, I believe Android as well. Check it out, it's pretty easy. What you're gonna do, without pressing on the brake or any other pedal, you're gonna hit stop button 2 times, stay the run position, so your vehicle is not gonna run, but it's gonna get everything going. And from here, within 10 seconds, you're gonna go ahead and press that accelerator button all the way down 3 times slowly. You're going to see there's a little charge symbol there. I think you grasped it already. That's what clears it out. Once you've done that 3 times, you're good. You shouldn't see any messages there, and then you can go ahead and, without touching any pedals or anything, hit that button one more time. And then when you actually start it up, you should have no messages left in there. Oops. So no messages. Overall, I enjoy doing this. It's a lot of fun. Got questions for me, let me know. I'm definitely willing to gain more knowledge. If I've explained anything incorrectly, you feel that you have some feedback for me, you let me know. You know, again, I'm a vehicle lover. I enjoy my car, but you know, most of all, we want to do it the right way. So I hope I gave you a good example of what that is, and also a good example of how to do it yourself, and at a pretty low cost for the most part. But other than that, let me know. I'm open to question and some advice as well. So you have a good one.